done kind of a live stream before. So happy to have you guys be the first group to do it. My name is Madison Zulowitz, and I am the event coordinator here at Doug, or Dynamics User Group. And I'm just here to give you a quick introduction about who Doug is and kind of what all we offer. So Doug is a free community for users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft business applications. Our goal is to support Microsoft Dynamics 365, GP, and Power Platform community, and we hope to help people grow and excel in their personal and professional careers. Our rules of engagement are that we essentially ask that these meetups are held to be solely educational. So please no sales pitches. We want everybody to also engage with the speakers. So ask lots of questions. I'm sure our speakers would appreciate that and want you to get involved. And that's how you're essentially going to learn more anyway and take more out of these meetups. Dynamics User Group has lots of different programs that we offer, most of which are free. So we have a free online open discussion forum. We have webinars, conferences, local meetups like this one, as well as regional meetups. We also have a team up program, and we have a YouTube channel, like Ray had mentioned, where you can go and see all of our virtual meetups that have been hosted throughout the world. So lots of great education there where you can go and see what everybody around the world is talking about. Really great free educational opportunity. We have our 2025 regional Doug meetups. So these are a little bit larger in scope than our local meetups, like this one. So they are a full day event, sometimes 2-day events. We usually have multiple different breakout rooms with full day of educational content. We also provide breakfast and lunch and typically a social hour at the end of the day. So again, a great way to network, gain some educational opportunities, and these are free events. So we are going to Philadelphia coming up on March 12th. We'll be in Canada in June, Ghana in July, Kenya in July. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado in August, Ohio in August, Europe in September, Texas in September, and Tampa, Florida in January. So if you're local to any of these areas, we would highly suggest that you come and join us. We also have our 2025 DynamicsCon coming up soon. So this is our largest conference of the year. It's from May 13th to the 16th. If I can go back a slide, there we go. So this is a multi-day event, lots and lots of education sessions. Our agenda has now been posted, so you can see all of the content that we are going to have at our event. I'm sure that those of you have lots of great things to say about it. So we really hope that you're able to make it if you can. And we are actually posting a free ticket for all of our Meetup members. So if you are a Meetup member on this call, you were able to get a free ticket to DynamicsCon, but that ends tomorrow. So the code is Meetup member, and I'll send that in the chat. But if you were thinking about coming to DynamicsCon, I highly suggest that you get that free ticket because unfortunately the code is expiring tomorrow. So feel free to message me in the chat if you have any questions, but if not, I'll go ahead and pass it back over to Ray and Mel. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Madison.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madison. Appreciate the introduction. Well, I say hello to everyone. We have a lot of people, I think, from different parts of the North America, maybe people outside. So everyone here in Canada, thank you very much for joining, as well as everyone in Indiana. Thank you, Mark, and the guys for coordinating this event to be not only available for our folks here in Canada, but also in the Meetup event in Indiana. So I'm just gonna share my screen, and you guys let me know if you don't see it. Oh, just gonna go to the beginning. Does everyone see my screen? And Ray, you can just say yes.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
We're seeing it. Yep.
Perfect. Well, yeah, so today's session is going to be Dynamics 365 F&O reporting on top of Microsoft Fabric. We will have a session where we talk about Synapse, but that would be really short. We would like to cover the latest, greatest technology that Microsoft provides for reporting, which is Microsoft Fabric. So just to let you know that this meeting is recorded. It will be available on YouTube, probably starting tomorrow or maybe next week. We'll try to get that in YouTube as soon as we can. So if you would like to review it, or if you want to share it with someone else that you know who might find this useful, you could just access it on YouTube. So in today's presentation, I'm Mo. I am the D365 technical architect. For the past 15 years, I've been doing development, architecture, and for the past 11 years, I've been focused on Dynamics 365 CRM and F&O. And unfortunately, the next person that was going to be here today, but due to a big emergency, she couldn't make it, and she was very sad. Is Shakiba. She is a Dynamics 365 supply chain management, production, and warehouse consultant, as well as Ali, our technical person. He is specialized as a data and machine learning engineer, and he will be actually presenting at the end of this, the second part of this presentation, which is going to be a technical deep dive. So if you're one of the functional folks, working on the finance side of Dynamics or on the supply chain and production warehouse, you will find the first part more relevant. The second part is going to be a little bit deeper dive. Is still, we try to make it as relevant as possible to all the audience. It's just that, for sure, if you have not been, doing a lot of technical tasks in your career, that might be a little bit not as easy to follow as for the technical folks, but anyways, we hope everyone will enjoy the sessions today. So what you will learn today, basically you will learn primarily by myself, that I'll do the presentation. What are the reporting tools available in Dynamics 365? Not only Synapse, Microsoft Fabric, which is the latest greatest, but we would like to just do a little literature review on what is out there, what was there, and why you're going to Fabric. What is the reason why Fabric is now the best of the breed version of the reporting tools? We will talk about few reports that we have built for a number of clients that you might find it relevant. I mean, one big question that always I'm asked is what kind of report we can build. Is it any type of report that I want? Well, luckily the answer is yes. You can literally build any report you want on top of Fabric, versus the previous technology that they had limitations. In this case, you could really have almost all the tables from Dynamics 365 transactional database into Fabric, and you can build your reports without any performance penalty. We'll cover that later. The last section, which will be presented again by Ali, would be the technical deep dive on Microsoft Fabric, how you can actually do an actual implementation for your organization. This is the literature review part. What are all the reporting tools available, the options on top of D365 F&O? The first one is Power BI Direct. So what you could actually do, you could take Power BI Desktop or Power BI Online, and you can just connect it to D365 directly. It's very easy. Pretty much everyone who knows Power BI, very basic knowledge of Power BI, can do this. The good thing about this option is that you actually get the inherent security from D365 already embedded into it. So if you are a salesperson and you're only supposed to see the sales data for a specific legal entity, when you use these reports, you're going to only see the data that's visible to your user in Dynamics. The biggest reason why you will not want to use this is because it connects directly to your D365 transactional database. So you have big performance penalties. Basically, if you pull out tens of thousands of rows of data, you're going to slow down every user that is using Dynamics at that given point of time. So good for prototyping, good for doing quick things, experimenting, but highly we highly discourage our clients to use this method. Then you have Power BI, Power Platform. You could use dual write or visual entities. You could connect the data that is synced from Dynamics to Power Platform. It's quite easy. It's not that difficult actually to set it up, but still it has a lot of a lot of settings that you have to put in place. It could be used in some specific use cases, but generally it's not recommended for a reporting platform if you want. Bring your own database. That was an option that is around for many years now. I think it was since 2017, this option is available. Microsoft, they do not recommend this option anymore. They are actually thinking of deprecating it, but it's easy to set up, and in terms of cost and technical expertise that you need to set it up, it's actually pretty straightforward. It's just that it's, as we call it, not a future-proof solution. And then finally, you have Synapse and Fabric Link, which we are going to talk about today, is the best of the breed, the latest, greatest technology that Microsoft provide. And we highly recommend all the future projects for reporting to use this new method. And in a nutshell, that's the simplest graph that I could put out there, is that your D365 data travels to Power Platform. When you use Synapse Link or Fabric, the data starts in D365, goes to Power Platform. From Power Platform, it goes to Synapse or Fabric Link. It's made available in Synapse or Fabric. And then you can use your BI tools of choice or AI tool of choice and build any analytics, any insight, any AI tool that you want on top of that. So that is the simplest, I think, data flow diagram that you can put in place. Ali, in a later section, he will go through really specific details on how these are all connected. So a little bit deep dive into the Synapse or Fabric Link. And I just want to make sure Synapse was the previous technology before Fabric.
Sorry to interrupt. Just can you make your screen on full screen mode? Because right now we are seeing the two screens.
Oh, yeah, that's weird because
yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw your next slide pane.
Okay. In that case, I'm just gonna probably minimize this, and thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. So my slide will be done probably in a few minutes. So Ali, I think you will take over. So thanks, Ray, for that. So basically, Synapse and Fabric, they're almost the same, but they are actually very different. So what I mean by that is that both of them, they could be used, different organizations based on their preference, based on their recommendation by their enterprise architect. They could use Synapse or they could use Fabric. They almost provide the same advantages, but we, again, as an organization and Microsoft as well, for all our clients, we recommend to go to Fabric because it's actually the most future-proof and the latest actually technology that Microsoft provide. But that doesn't mean you could have a different degree of different level of using this technology. You could actually just use Synapse or Fabric Link to bring data to Azure storage and just connect your Power BI. So this would be like the simplest or the least usage you can get from Synapse Link. We don't recommend this. This is basically what happens there is that you take the data from Dynamics, you dump it in storage account, and then you connect to the raw data from Dynamics, which is extremely difficult to build reports on top of those raw tables that you have in Dynamics. It's good for small scale reporting and it's good for prototyping, but it has not all the advantages you get with Fabric. The second advantage you get with Synapse and Fabric Link is that you can actually make your Dynamics 365 data available in a SQL server. And that comes with a lot of advantages. Why? Because literally you are taking data from Dynamics and putting it in a SQL server without almost zero performance impact on your transactional database on D365F&O. So one of the great examples, the usage for SQL Server, is that you can actually do integrations. Meaning, if I have an external app that needs Dynamics 365 F&O data, I could actually use this Synapse Fabric link to bring data from F&O into my external application. As a matter of fact, we have built portals for our customers. This is a custom portal that we built for someone, and the data that you see in the dashboard of this application is actually coming from Dynamics F&O, but we don't query the transaction database directly. We actually bring it through Synapse and through Fabric link. Again, the big advantage is that we get literally the transactional database of Dynamics replicated, and we could read all this information. The only disadvantage of this is that this is not a two-way connection, so you could not actually update your D365 F&O. Then the next two options are, once you establish this link that I'm just going to go back here. Once you have this data here, you could use the data only in Azure Synapse, or you could use Fabric. And as you can see, the Fabric has, if you look at the criteria here we have on top, is all the most, you get the full package. So in terms of scope, you can do any type of reporting with Fabric. In terms of being easy for your developers to set up this link, Fabric is actually much simpler. Ali will do a deep dive into this. If you have legacy data warehouses and now you're gonna integrate those legacy data warehouses into your new One Lake Fabric, is actually a bit simpler if you use Azure Synapse versus Fabric. Setup and maintenance, Fabric is Microsoft. They had made it a plug and play. And eventually, if you want to do any AI algorithm, any AI usage of your data, Fabric is actually built to be AI enabled already, with a lot of out-of-the-box features that Ali will cover a little bit in the next section. So that is in a nutshell. In this section, I'm just going to go over quickly the reports that we have built for different clients of ours, and you could see some examples of what kind of report you can also build. Some of these reports we are planning to make them available for just the templates, the Power BI file, so that if you build, you say, oh, I see this report and I could use it as is. We are going to make them available. At the end of the presentation, you could request and we could send them to you. But basically, an ERP system has some key, production processes. So you have order to cash, lead to code, pick to ship, procure to pay, post to close, and plan to production. You could literally build any reports with any data that you store in your ERP system once you get your data in Microsoft Fabric. So here I will go over some of these reports. So for example, this one, just do a zoom in. Okay, I apologize for this because when I put it full screen, I think we get the next slide. So this report here is an order to cash. So basically here you could see all the information about the customers who have put their orders through. These the numbers we have here are all sample figures, and you could see that I could see like all the customers that have put their orders. What are the different salesperson? If I have in my sales team, if I want to evaluate their performance, I could see who is being selling the most, and so on and so forth. Or if you have different directors in your sales department, you could build those reports. Here you could see people who are taking sales orders in your organization. If you want to build how many of them, how many they got, and if you want to have a breakdown per week, you could actually have that information here. The next report that we have built is all your sites, how many orders they came from which site, and you can see the shipments that have been done from for those orders. This is more an order to cash type of report where you could see your sales order over time, how many you got, and you could have a timeline type of graph that shows you this information. So we have a number of other reports that we put in here. This is more on the finance side. You can locate what are your shipping addresses by on a map representation. You could see by sales directives or more report as you wish. So these are all the reports we have built. I'm not going to go over them, but the point here is that you could literally build any report that you can with your ERP data, because the advantage of Fabric is that every single table, almost every single table that you have in F&O could be actually synced and replicated in Fabric, and you can just build whatever report you have. These are just some samples. I'm not going to go through them because obviously there are a lot of details here, but yeah, this is what you get. Basically, any report that you want to build, you can build on top of that. I don't know if there are any questions for this section so far. Otherwise, I'm going to pass it to Ali. All right. So Ali, if you don't mind, you can. So Ali will do a deep dive into the technicality of how the setup is built.
Thanks, Mo.
Perfect. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Mo, for walking us through the BI reports we've built on Dynamics 365. As you just saw, these reports provide some valuable insights that are specifically tailored to different end user roles. But have you ever wondered what happens behind the scenes? So how do we take raw data from Dynamics 365 and turn it into these insightful reports? This is where Microsoft Fabric comes in. In this part of the presentation, I will take you through how we generate these reports in Fabric, from ingesting and processing data to making it BI ready. So let's dive in and see how we do this. All right, let's start by understanding what Microsoft Fabric is first. Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end analytics platform. It integrates multiple data workloads into a, let's say, single unified environment. So it simplifies the process of ingesting, storing, processing, and analyzing data, which happens all in one place. So basically, Fabric is designed for both data professionals and business users, and it enables seamless collaboration between, let's say, data engineers, analysts, and decision makers. In a high-level view, Fabric brings together different workloads from data engineering and data warehousing to real-time intelligence and BI reporting. All of these powered by OneLake. So OneLake is a centralized storage layer for all of these workloads. And basically, it is where we store our data in Fabric. And let's say OneLake is built on Azure Data Lake Storage, or ADLS. The data is stored in an accessible, scalable, and highly efficient format in this way. Because all the data is stored in one unified location, it can be easily referenced from anywhere within Fabric. Without the need for complex data movements. And another key benefit of OneLake is that it just eliminates data duplication using a feature called shortcuts in Fabric. So instead of copying data between environments, shortcuts actually allow different workloads to reference the same data set without literally physically moving it, which at the end of the day improves performance and storage efficiency. So before we dive deeper into Fabric, it's important to understand that it evolved from previous technologies like Azure SQL Data Warehouse and Azure Synapse Analytics, as Mo mentioned some of them. So Fabric integrates many of their capabilities, but at the same time offers them in a more modern and, let's say, efficient way. So here's a quick comparison between Fabric and Synapse Analytics. We can say Fabric is a fully integrated platform. It combines multiple services in one place, as I mentioned, but Synapse, on the other hand, requires managing multiple services separately. And in terms of storage, again, as I mentioned earlier, Fabric uses one lake, which is a unified data storage layer, but Synapse relies on separate storage solutions. One of the exciting features in Fabric is the integration of Copilot, Microsoft's AI power assistant. It helps users generate insights, create queries, and automate workflows using natural language. So data analysis and report creation are more accessible, even for business users without any technical expertise. So we are also hosting another webinar later this April focused on the AI capabilities of Microsoft Fabric. We will explore how Copilot enhances data analytics, automation, and decision-making. Mo will provide more details about this session shortly. From a business perspective, Fabric reduces operational overhead, improves efficiency, and accelerates data-driven decision-making. So all of these make Fabric a simplified, scalable, and integrated approach that I think is a strong choice for organizations looking for a modern and end-to-end analytics solution. Okay, so far we've seen how Fabric provides this unified analytics platform, and now let's focus on how we can bring in data from Dynamics 365 to Fabric and generate BI reports. So the first step here is to link Dynamics 365 tables to Fabric. For this, there's a link to Microsoft Fabric feature in Power Platform, which actually creates direct shortcuts from Dataverse to one lake in Fabric, and therefore it, let's say, eliminates any need for manual ETL pipelines. So what's the advantage? The real-time access without moving or duplicating data. So this ensures that refreshed Dynamics 365 data is always available in Fabric and can be used for analytics and report generation. This feature is also available for any tables in Power Apps and supports all Dynamics 365 applications, including finance and operation tables. I'll now demonstrate how we can establish this link to Fabric through Dataverse. Okay, so we are now in Power Apps. In the table, from the Tables section, if we navigate to Analyze menu, we can see this link to Microsoft Fabric. If it is our first time setting this up, we'll be prompted to validate our connection to Fabric. And once it's validated, we can select an existing Fabric workspace, or we can create a new one if we haven't already had a workspace. So here, we have already done this. I will not go through this step. If I click on this, it'll show that all the tables are already linked to Fabric, and it will open the Fabric environment for me. But here in Power Apps, if we navigate to Azure Synapse link, we can see that a Microsoft OneLake connection is listed under the available link. So if we click on it, we get a detailed view of all linked tables, their sync status, last synchronization time, and source, and whether they originate from Dataverse or FNO. So here, if I click on Manage Tables, I can select additional tables from Dataverse or FNO. As you can see, for example, I have access to Dataverse tables, and here I have access to FNO tables. So when I finished selecting the new tables, I can just come here and refresh Fabric tables. And it's going to refresh the tables that are already created, the lakehouse that was already created in Fabric with the new tables. And if I want to have a quick look on these linked tables, if I click on this view in Microsoft Fabric, I'll be redirected into a Fabric environment where I can see the lakehouse, the one that's created using Fabric link with Dataverse. And inside that lakehouse, I can see all the linked tables here. One important thing to note here is that these tables are not duplicated in OneLake. They are just exist as shortcuts. So it means that they just reference the original data without any copying or duplication happening. Okay, now that we have our Dynamics 365 data available in OneLake within Fabric, the next question is, how do we transform this raw data into meaningful business insights? So generally, it is not efficient or let's say scalable or business friendly to generate reports directly from raw Dynamics 365 tables in Fabric. The data needs to be further processed, cleaned, and structured before it becomes report ready. So this is where the medallion architecture comes in. So it is a three-layer architecture for structured data transformation and analytics. It is a well-established data design pattern that helps us, logically organize data and incrementally improve it as we move through each layer. So the first layer is the bronze layer, or sometimes it's called raw data layer. This is where we store raw unprocessed data exactly as it comes from Dynamics 365. The goal here is to keep the original data intact so that we can make sure always we have a source of truth. And therefore, there's no transformation or cleaning happening at this. It's just ingestion. Next is the silver layer, or the cleaned and structured data layer. So in this layer, the data is cleaned and structured to make it usable for reporting. We usually apply deduplication, validation, standardization, and sometimes, even light aggregations here. And this prepares the data for faster querying and ensures that it aligns with business rules. And finally, the gold layer, or the business-ready data layer, where we create curated business-level tables that are mainly optimized for BI reporting. Data here is aggregated, modeled, and structured, and in such a way that it's easy for end users to analyze and consume it in, let's say, Power BI or other reporting tools. Perfect. So this is the high-level view of how we implement the medallion architecture in Fabric using the raw data from Dynamics 365 FO tables linked to Fabric through Dataverse. What we are using here is a lakehouse, and warehouse architecture and data flows that are orchestrated using metadata-driven pipeline, or MDP. I'll refer back to this diagram as we navigate through different components in Fabric. So you'll always have a clear idea of where we are in the medallion architecture. Okay, so in the first layer, as I mentioned, we have the bronze lakehouse. This lakehouse is automatically created, as you just saw, when we use the link to Fabric and Power Platform. At this stage, the data is stored in its raw form from, within one lake in Fabric, and there's no changes, processes, or it stays exactly as it comes from the source. This is important. Why? Because it keeps raw data intact to ensure auditability and traceability. So we can always track changes and maintain, a trusted source of truth before any transformations happen. Then let's move on to the silver lakehouse. Here we actually use notebooks to perform data cleaning, deduplication, and normalization. These are, the essential steps to ensure our data is accurate and structured for reporting. And at this stage, we typically apply joins and filters on data stored in the bronze lakehouse, and then write the transform tables into the silver lakehouse. So what is the goal here? Is to just eliminate inconsistencies, remove duplicate records, and structure the data in a way that is more efficient for querying and business use. And next, we have the gold warehouse. This is where our process data sit, and this is where we aggregate and optimize data in silver lakehouse and create the tables in the gold warehouse. So the data is actually fully refined and business ready for easy consumption. And we can say that the tables at this layer are designed specifically for BI reports, dashboards, and analytics. So now to generate BI reports, we first need to create a semantic model using gold layer tables that are relevant to the report. So I'm going to, again, Fabric environment, navigate to our gold warehouse. Here, under gold schema, you can see some gold layers that we've already created. And from the reporting tab, if we go to new semantic model, we can actually type a name for our semantic model and select the relevant tables that we want to have them in our report. And once we create the semantic model, we can open it, and we can see the list of all the upstream and downstream items. So it's originating from Gold Warehouse, and later I have already created a report for the semantic model. So the downstream item is this sales report. But if you want to create a new report, you can just open the data model, and here you can see all the gold layer tables, and from file menu you can just create a new report. And it will redirect you to the Power BI environment where you can, start designing and visualize your data. So let me just open this generic notebook that I had already created. So this just, displays business insights, including total sales by geographical location and, total orders by month. So this is the general procedure, how we build interactive dashboards that, provide this insights for our decision making. Perfect. So up to this point, we've seen how Dynamics 365 data is brought into Fabric and processed through this medallion architecture until it's ready for reporting. So typically, all of this happens in a development environment or workspace. The data is defined, models are built, and reports are tested. But once everything is finalized and validated, we need to push this into production so that business users can access the reports. So for this, we can use deployment pipelines. Fabric actually has its own integrated deployment pipeline, which eliminates the need for external CI/CD tools. And it does, what it does actually is it can enable an automated deployment from one stage to another. So generally, it reduces this manual effort and the risk of errors, and you can make sure that only tested and validated data reaches the production. So the deployment pipeline in Fabric provides a graphical user interface that makes the deployment process clear and more manageable. Here, all the items from, let's say, the source stage or the dev workspace and the target stage, or we can say the production stage, are displayed together alongside each other, allowing us to easily track their status. So it clearly indicates whether an item has already been deployed or if there are differences between the source and target version. It also includes paired item comparisons, which allows us to see exactly what has changed between the stage. For example, it highlights which lines of a notebook have been modified in the source stage, or, for example, shows discrepancies between the stored procedures in a warehouse across different environments. And also, Fabric provides a deployment history tool that helps us to track previous deployments. Also, we can monitor changes over time. And what it does, it makes the deployment process a bit more controlled and transparent, specifically if we add notes when we do the deployment Good. Now that we understand the end-to-end process, a question still remains. So what happens when Dynamics 365 tables refresh and get updated? So when new data flows into one lake, we need to ensure that all downstream processes from ingestion to transformation and reporting are also refreshed. Conventionally, we use scheduled data pipelines to automate and orchestrate these updates, at predefined intervals. But it is an effective method. Although it's an effective method, this approach can be, let's say, a little bit rigid because it requires manual intervention when any changes need to occur. So instead of hard coding pipeline logic, we can use a more, scalable approach that is, the metadata-driven pipeline or MDP. So it takes a more, dynamic and flexible approach by controlling data flows using the metadata. Instead of manually defining pipeline steps, MDP actually reads metadata to determine what transformations to apply. And so generally, it just eliminates the need for hard-coded configurations and makes the pipeline easier to maintain and extend. Also, MDP can automatically adapt to new data sources and modifications without requiring manual changes to the pipeline logic. So in the context of a medallion architecture, a metadata-driven pipeline typically should follow 3 stages. First is from bronze to silver, where, as mentioned, raw data from Dynamics 365 in the bronze lakehouse is cleaned, deduplicated, structured, and written into the silver lakehouse. The next stage is silver to gold, which where we have the cleaned data that is further aggregated and optimized in the gold warehouse. This stage also makes sure that data is structured for BI consumption analytics. And finally, the semantic model refresh stage. So once the data in the gold layer is updated, MDP triggers a refresh of the semantic model so that we can make sure that Power BI reports are updated with the latest data changes. So what it does, eliminates the need for manual refreshes and always keep the reports accurate and business ready. So metadata-driven pipeline operate by leveraging metadata, which is stored in configuration tables. So instead of relying on static configurations, MDP actually dynamically reads metadata to determine how the pipeline should execute. And for each stage that I mentioned, we can use a dedicated configuration table. And the information in these configuration tables are what source and destination data storages to be used, what kind of transformation logic to apply, and if a configuration is active for execution or not. So generally, metadata-driven pipeline offers several key advantages for us. First of all, there's no need for us to modify pipeline logic. So we can simply just update the metadata instead of doing that. Also, we can easily add new tables and transformations without redesigning the workflow. And we can also use the same pipeline logic so that we can minimize the discrepancies between environments. And finally, decentralized configuration tables provide auditability and traceability. Perfect. So we've now seen how to bring Dynamics 365 data up to Fabric, process it using the medallion architecture, and automate workflows with the metadata-driven pipeline. But there is one important question left. How do we make sure the data we are using is accurate and reliable? Imagine this. So a business leader opens a dashboard expecting to see up-to-date sales figures, but instead, you notice the numbers don't add up. So maybe a recent data refresh didn't go as expected, or a transformation introduced consistencies. This is why this data validation and testing are critical. So before any reports go live, data validation and testing help us, maintain this consistency across environments and catch any issues early before pushing changes to production. So we can also detect these data inconsistencies, transformation errors, and any schema changes, before the deployment. So we can reduce the risk of, deploying faulty data transformations. That's at the end could impact our business reporting. Okay, so to ensure data accuracy and consistency before pushing updates to production, we can use a dedicated test lakehouse in our Fabric environment. So what we do is that instead of querying different environments separately, we use shortcuts to mirror the gold layer tables from both dev and production, or from all other environments, including both in production. And what it means is that all mirror tables are accessible within a single lakehouse, and it allows us to run direct comparisons between environments. And again, here, as you can see, we are using the shortcut capabilities available in one lake in Fabric. So by doing this, we can efficiently and effectively validate the schema consistencies, check for discrepancies in the transform data, and make sure that business metrics remain accurate before any report goes live. This method also supports automated validation using, Synapse notebooks and SQL queries, and it also makes it easier to detect any inconsistencies without any manual intervention, let's say. So one of the most common tests we perform is schema comparison. We check the column names, data types, column orders, and we make sure that they're remaining consistent across environments. So for example, imagine a sales report expects a column name total revenue, but in a new version of the data, it has been renamed to total sales. So if the report is still looking for total revenue, it may fail or return incorrect results. So this schema validation ensures that all the environments, development, testing, staging, production, are aligned and follow this same data model that's being used for the reporting. And beyond column name mismatch, schema comparisons can also help detect the missing fields, unexpected data type changes, and structural inconsistencies. All of this can be avoided but using this testing method in our BI reports and downstream workflows. So another common validation method is data consistency checks. So here, one way we do this is by just validating row counts and key metrics, like, for example, totals, averages and sums across environments. And if these values differ unexpectedly, it may indicate, missing or duplicated records. For example, if a silver layer transformation removes duplicates, but we still see duplicate records in the gold layer, it suggests that an issue is present with the deduplication process. And also, we can also check foreign key relationships to make sure data integrity is maintained. For example, a sales transaction in the fact table should always be linked to a valid customer in the dimension table. If records exist in the fact table but are missing in the customer table, this indicates a broken data model. And finally, we have regression testing, which takes data validation a step further, and it ensures that the new updates or transformations do not break the existing data. And how it does it? It just does it by comparing the historical data snapshots. So for example, if we modify a SQL script that updates a table, regression testing allows us to compare previous versions of the table with the newly processed version to confirm that the changes are correct and no data was lost or altered incorrectly. So in general, by including these tests in our validation process, we can reduce the risk of deploying faulty transformations and always make sure that reports reflect accurate and reliable insights.
Yeah, I just want to add, sorry, Ali, the previous point. So the regression testing helps a lot when you update your Dynamics environments and you want to make sure that your BI reporting or any other AI maybe tools that you have built on top of Fabric is not breaking. That would be really useful in the context of version updates of Dynamics 365 FNO.
Yeah, thank you. So to wrap up, in this presentation, we addressed some key questions about how we can generate BI reports and Dynamics 365 data using Microsoft Fabric. So first we started by understanding what Microsoft Fabric is, and then we address some questions like, how do we bring Dynamics 365 data into Fabric? We saw that this is done seamlessly using Link to Fabric in Power Platform. And then once our data is in Fabric, how do we process it for reporting? We explored the medallion architecture, and we showed that how it helps us to progressively refine raw data into structured and business-ready insights. Then how we can automate this process, this data flow. So we introduced MDP, or metadata-driven pipelines that orchestrate data processing dynamically without hard-coded logic. And finally, after development, how do we publish these reports to production? So we looked at deployment pipelines available inherently in Fabric that enable a smooth transition from across environments. And finally, how do we ensure data consistency before reports go live? And we covered different methods of data validation and testing, using a test lakehouse and automated checks to compare environments. With that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention, and I'll now hand it over to Mo to conclude the presentation.
Thank you very much, Ali. Could you also
Thanks,
go to
Ali.
the next slide if you don't mind, now that you have the screen shared?
Yep.
Yeah, well, so thank you very much, everyone. I think we have about 9 minutes left. Are there any questions, that you guys might have? I don't know if there was any in the chat. Okay, so we could take the questions in the chat.
We've got one here in Indiana.
So Microsoft purchased an ISV that then created business performance analytics and rolled that out at the end of last year. How does Dev Analytics 365 differentiate between that and that product as it's included with the license refinements?
I can take that question. So yeah, BPA or business performance analytics are really a set of reports that are specific, and you could still change them. You do have some degree of flexibility in adding some fields or customizing them to your taste, but it's really limited in terms of scope as compared to Fabric. Fabric is a full-fledged, I would say, enterprise-grade reporting tool. It's scalable. You could actually do anything you want, any type of reporting you want with Fabric, and it's mainly tailored for data engineers and any highest scale reporting. BPA, on the other hand, is more useful when your requirements fit into those ready-made reports, or if you have to do additional changes on top of those. One more distinction with Fabric is that definitely if the BPA reports, they satisfy your requirements, I think that's the way to go. Then if you have, very specific requirements, if you have also the skill set and the talent inside your organization to work with Fabric, then you would probably go into Fabric. And I can tell you to get these Fabric reports in place, you definitely need to have a set of experts that understand this and that understand the technology and all the great things that Ali presented. Not all the organization can afford building such a team. So then either you reach out to external partners, Microsoft partners, to build these for you, or it will take definitely a lot of effort to build an internal team that can work on these Fabric reports. So yeah, if your requirements are satisfied with BPA and you're comfortable using those, I would say go ahead and use those. If not, if your requirements are much more complicated than that, then Fabric will be the tool of choice.
I might add to that, Mo, real quick. I mean, I'm a big fan of the BPA and where it's going, but right now the BPA is more, right now, just because of where it's in a cycle, its life cycle, it's more F&O. The supply chain is not there. It's continuing to grow, it's continuing to add. But again, what you can do with the BPA today may not also, so things to consider. And my question to you, Mo, though, I guess I'm always looking at cost, right? At the end of the day here, how is cost compared for Fabric? Is there any cost considerations when you look at that as far as just what high level you might be happy to consider as far as paying for that's beyond normal D365 licensing?
Yeah, the cost section is actually something that we have planned for another session, maybe in the future, but it's actually a very good question. It's not apple to apple when you compare cost-wise. BPA is relatively, if I'm not mistaken, it requires minimal cost to have it in place, whereas Fabric actually has multiple elements of cost, one of which is the Fabric itself. So you could buy Fabric in different capacities, and each capacity comes with its own advantages, versus BPA, which is actually pretty much straightforward. And maybe Mark, you could actually talk more about the cost wise on the BPA, the cost model. I think it's pretty simple. Easily, I could say building an enterprise grade Fabric again, we're talking about enterprise grade. So we're talking about at least 10 to 15 reports built into Fabric, cost you somewhere minimum 5K and up. So that is just the Fabric itself. Then you have storage on top of Dataverse. Then you have probably Power BI licenses. Then you have a number of other cost elements that you have to take into consideration. That's why I'm saying what you get with Fabric is a full-fledged 2024 AI-enabled reporting tool versus BPA, which is actually much smaller in scope in what it does.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, the really cost, I guess, as far as the BPA is, if you have a lot of data, you're going to pay for extra data, but it's very minimal cost. But the scope of what you can do compared to the Fabric is much more specific and not everything. So you may have some limitations there. The short version.
Yeah. So Nitish, you have your hands up.
Yeah, so I have a question though. Can this replace the FNO SSRS reports? Because I know that there are so many SSRS reports that have a lot of heavy logic at the FNO class level, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, aging report, has a lot of business logic behind it before even it provides the SSRS report data sets, right? So
yeah, I can take that. So just for everyone's info, SSRS are the reports that we build embedded into Dynamics. So the question is, can Fabric replace those entirely? In terms of logic, business logic, yes, Fabric can you can replicate everything that you do as logic in the back end of those reports using Fabric, and those happens in the notebooks. You could do Python and all these data engineering scripting tools that are available inside Fabric. There is only one little caveat to that, is the fact that SSRS reports run directly on top of D365 transactional database, meaning they give you the exact real-time data as of the moment you ran that report. Fabric does not have that real time. And then when we say real time, really there is Bitcoin real time and there is normal life real time. So if 1 hour for you is real time, for most of people is, then Fabric can do it. So Microsoft, they call it near real time, meaning it's not as of a second ago, but about like an hour ago. So you could actually have the reports refreshed with a minimum delay of 1 hour, but it will never be that real time as the SSRS reports.
no, thank you for the response. The only thing is, so there I see like if we have to transform such complex report into the Fabric, the gap would be that there's a data engineer on the Fabric side versus the SSRS report that built on the X++ logic in the FNO. So data engineer may not have the knowledge of the X++, and X++ may not have the knowledge of the Fabric data engineering side, right? Mm-hmm. So is there a way we can fill the gap, or what are the things that you see in your experience? How can we make that working? Because that's a classic scenario we're experiencing right now. So that's why I'm mentioning that.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, definitely you need a developer on the Dynamics. There's no easy way to answer your question very shortly. There's no easy transformation where you could take an SSRS report and convert it into a Fabric report. Essentially, you have to have a developer on Dynamics side and a data engineer on the Fabric side to talk to each other and explain what how they could actually do the conversion. In our experience, we haven't found any. I mean, maybe it's out there. I highly doubt that, but yeah, there is no easy way to just take an SSRS report and convert it directly. But it does require a little bit of analysis and a little bit of migration if you want to make that happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd just be interested, you mentioned a lot of the embedded AI and the lift to move from whatever we're using to Fabric is not an insignificant lift. But I think when we're working with clients, we're really talking about the long play of the data and Microsoft's investment in AI and these agents. And we just think it's a strategic long-term move you got to be making. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely AI. Fabric is the tool where Microsoft put all their money to make it AI ready, and that's what Microsoft say. With that being said, it doesn't mean if you're using the previous generation, which is Azure Synapse, if you use that, it's just that you have to build a lot of these tools yourself. Rather than having them ready, given to you by Microsoft. Now, if you go to the previous reporting generation, such as BYOD, or you use OData, those are definitely not AI ready. They are actually far from AI ready. We have actually explored how AI ready Fabric is. Ali can talk more about that, but like he found a way where you could actually from your inside your Fabric, from your notebook, you can call out an AI model and called a GPT or call a DeepSeek, or not sure about DeepSeek, but you could actually call out external AI tools. And Ali, if you want to provide more details.
Yeah, actually, you can use API keys to call those machine learning algorithms, LLMs or whatever, to apply to your data. But you know that Microsoft Azure AI services also has lots of these LLMs and ML models already integrated. So if you want to use models outside of Microsoft Fabric, it is possible, but it comes in the excess of expense of your data exposure. But you're always you can always use the previously integrated ML models in Azure AI services in Fabric and use them. But Copilot here is just an already built-in and already integrated LLM that is existing now in the Fabric, and there's no need for you to call it. You can just go there and use it. There's no need for you to use API keys to just ask Copilot to do to give you insights about data, to do things for you inside Fabric. It's already there and you can just use it. But the requirement is that you need to purchase F64 capacity. Below this capacity, you're not you don't have any access to Copilot.
And to add to that, that if you want to use Copilot within Fabric, you have to meet a certain Fabric capacity threshold, and I think that's F64. Ali, you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you buy any capacity cheaper than F64 on Fabric side, you won't get that already embedded Copilot functionalities. Does that answer the question? All right. Do we have any other questions? All right. Well, we are going to leave it at that. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining the call today. I see a few questions here on the chat. I'm going to stay on. If anyone else has any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much, Doug, for making this happen. Thank you, Mark and the Indiana group for being there today. It was really a pleasure to meet you all, and hopefully you learned something today from our presentation.
Good stuff, Mo. Thanks for letting us join. We'll love to set in the second half when you if you do part 2 to this.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
yeah,
everyone.
we'll plan that very shortly, hopefully in the month of April.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We will be also, if you want to have access to one of these sample BI reports, we're going to send out a link. You can actually reach out to us, and we could provide some of the BI reports that we have available, the templates, so that maybe you can get a head start on those.
Thanks, Mo. I'll share that with our group too.
Sure. Ray just shared that in the chat.
I just put it in the chat. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and the Indiana session is going to be continued, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.